Now it's time for Lefties Losing It, and we start with a trigger warning to all the Swifties out there. Yes, come at me, because wow, Democrat lovey-dovey Taylor Swift's engagement to Travis Kelce seems to have given the miserable, sour and angry white women the okay to get married. I mean, who would have thought you could actually continue life as normal under Donald Trump's America? Here was CBS reporter Olivia Rinaldi having a complete freak out after finding out the news.
Taylor Swift is engaged. Taylor Swift is engaged. Taylor Swift is engaged. This, come back to me. She just posted it. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh, it's huge. The ring is ginormous. This is so exciting. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God, it's on her Instagram. It's on her Instagram. It's on her Instagram. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I feel like Paul Revere right now. This is a very exciting moment for me in my professional career because I get to announce that Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are engaged.
Yeah, could she say, oh my God, just one more time for old time's sake. And the white Liberals sounded like they were laying an egg.
They're engaged! They will win! Oh my God.
Oh my God, Taylor Swift is engaged. I feel like my daughter just got engaged. This is so exciting.
And did you know there's a whole deranged squad called gay law creators who actually think Travis and Taylor are not straight, but are in fact gay? So here is one of them wearing a T-shirt that says lobotomy, by the way, so already it's going swimmingly, isn't it? But she absolutely is convinced that this is all just a big stunt.
Why would I be happy that someone got engaged to a man? A man I don't know who historically throws temper tantrums on the football field. Why would I be excited for a woman to be marrying him? I don't think it's an achievement to get engaged. I don't think it's an achievement to get married. I don't think that this heteropatriarchal milestone thing that we're all spoon-fed as babies so that we grew up brainwashed is anything to be proud of.
Well, they're unique, aren't they, to say the least? And then there's this.
Travis Kelce's trans. Travis Kelce's going to come out as trans, so it's actually totally fine. We're going for they, them for Travis from now on until they confirm that they'd like to be she, her. In the meantime, we're just going to say Travis is they, them. I think I actually remember an outfit where he was wearing the trans flag colors. A couple different outfits if you combine them as a trans flag. Nobody's stressed out at all. Everything's going to be okay.
Look, there're just no words, are there? And now to the tiresome trans crew constantly having insufferable meltdowns as if the world owes them something. It's just all very odd.
Why can't I exist as my true self right now?
That's not your true self, that's why.
This! You don't think this is my true self? What the is your true self? You ignorant piece of is your true self being a little pussy who's shorter and feels insecure about how they are? What? Oh, you don't like coming into people's spaces and getting them uncomfortable for being their true self? You don't like when people do that to you? Then Lord, and do that somewhere else and stop coming here, you piece of
Yeah, truly very normal stuff, isn't it? Now, Cracker Barrel's having a moment over in the US, isn't it? The dining chain has had its come to Jesus moment, vowing to backflip on its woke logo redesign. But Democrat Representative Becca Balint says she's just very triggered by it all.
I just have to say, who gives a shit about the Cracker Barrel logo? We are all being manipulated by people who are driving rage about asinine, stupid things. And it takes up so much time and so much energy and so many damn column inches in newspapers and on social media. This is stupid, and we continue to fall for it.
Actually, hun, it's all to do with the Democrats' cancel culture and insistence on trying to erase American history, but they never learn, do they? Now to Washington, D.C., where this lefty thinks blacks are about to be rounded up.
We believe that the National Guard and the military occupation is the first step into rounding black people up and putting them in detainment camps here in Washington, D.C. and around the United States of America.
I mean, they really are struggling, aren't they, to comprehend the benefits of cracking down on crime, so they just start spewing all sorts of lefty nonsense. Meanwhile, the governor of Illinois says Trump is using troops to crack down on crime is about an authoritarian takeover.
This is about the President of the United States and his complicit lackey, Stephen Miller, searching for ways to lay the groundwork to circumvent our democracy, militarize our cities, and end elections.
Circumvent our democracy by helping to keep our citizens safe, actually. So make that make sense. And in a massive, huge, diabolical setback for Donald Trump, British politician and leader of the Liberal Democrats, Ed Davey, has announced he is boycotting King Charles's state dinner for Trump, all in the name of Gaza.
I never thought I'd have to make this decision. Next month, Donald Trump will come to the UK for a state banquet. I've been invited. My wife and I won't be going. It's an enormous honour to be invited by the King, who I have huge respect for. It's only by not attending that I get the opportunity to make this case. The people of Gaza are starving. Boycotting the banquet is the one way I can send a message to Donald Trump and Keir Starmer too, because they can't close their eyes and just wish this away.
Well, joining me now is President of the Centre of the American Experiment, John Hinderaker. John, good to catch up with you again. Let's start with former Vice President Kamala Harris, whose fundraising events to raise money for the Democratic National Committee have been a total flop. According to Axios, the total money raised from the events has been disappointing. And look, really, it's not hard to see why. Shall we take a trip down memory lane?
The children of the community are the children of the community. You need to get to go and need to be able to get where you need to go to do the work and get home. Talking about the significance of the passage of time, right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time in terms of what we need to do to see the moment in time in which we exist and are present.
Oh, John, I tell you what, it sends shivers up my spine every time I see that vision. But look, of course, this comes as the DNC continues to pay off her November campaign expenses, which notched $1.5 billion US. I mean, Democrats are rightly frustrated, and now she can't even get enough money at fundraisers. What does it say about Kamala Harris?
Well, it says something about Kamala Harris, who was a terrible candidate, and the video clips you played remind us of how bad she was. She spent $1.5 billion in just 107 days, wound up in debt. So they're trying to pay off those campaign debts. But the thing I would say, Danica, is that it's not only Kamala Harris, it's the Democratic Party across the board that is having a hard time raising money. And that's partly because some of the people who had been big Democratic donors, especially in the tech industries, are holding back. I'm not sure if they're changing parties or not, but at least for now, they're not supporting the Democrats.
No, clearly. And yeah, she's really struggling to get money into the fundraisers. So it really speaks volumes about Kamala Harris. Now, look, I want to turn to this awful shooting in Minneapolis. 2 children, of course, have been shot dead and another 2 are fighting for life after a shooter opened fire through the windows of a church. Here's what we know about the shooter.
The coward that shot these victims took his own life in the rear of the church. That coward has been identified as 23-year-old Robin Westman. No prior criminal history.
Now, John, we also know that this shooter was trans, and it's understood their handwritten manifesto suggests that they were in the midst of a gender identity crisis and had killed Donald Trump and for the children scrawled on gun magazines. Now, look, obviously this is just awful for the families, but a lot of questions need answering about the shooter and their ideology.
So, Danica, this is close to my heart because I used to live in the neighborhood where this school, Annunciation, is located. If my wife and I hadn't decided to move to the suburbs, our youngest child would have attended this school. And so I'm very familiar with it. And this is another instance of a trans mass shooter. And given the tiny, tiny number of trans people, there have been quite a few incidents like this. And I think one of the things that we need to take a harder look at is these are people who are seriously mentally ill. If you look at the video that this Robert or Robin, whoever it was, released, it's completely insane. I mean, completely insane. And it's hard to understand why no one seems to notice until someone actually starts shooting people. And then another thing I think we need to look at is a lot of these trans people, and I don't know whether it's true of this one or not, but they get injected with powerful drugs as part of the transition. And I think we should step back and take a very hard look at whether these drug therapies may in fact be exacerbating pre-existing mental illness and may be inclining some of these people to violence.
And I think as well, we've got to look at that they're being enabled here because, you know, we've got this moment here. I want to show you Tim Walz. He signed a bill to make Minnesota, his own state, a trans refuge state late last year. And only a few days ago, he spoke about it again. Have a listen.
Minnesota ranks the highest per capita for being a safe haven for transgender individuals in Minnesota. And can I just say, we can talk about economic growth and feeding children and growing the economy and creating jobs simultaneously with talking about everybody's human rights matters, and we shouldn't be demonizing them. You can do both.
John, is Democratic leadership responsible for fostering this trans and woke ideology? I mean, now this trans person's committed such a heinous act, and I'm not suggesting that this happens all the time, but the Democrats have really pushed this agenda forward.
Danica, it's unbelievable. You know, usually the victims are not poor, innocent school children like in this case. Usually the victims are the trans people themselves who, instead of getting proper medical care for a very severe mental illness, get encouraged sometimes to as if this is reality. And I think you're right. I think Democratic politicians like Tim Walz, my own governor, have played a very poor role in this whole situation.
No, look, I completely agree with you. It's a sad, sad day again in America, but, you know, there's so many questions that need to be answered. Now, look, let's talk crime. The vast majority of Americans see crime as a huge issue in the US and approve of Donald Trump's handling of it. According to an AP NORC poll, 81% of Americans agree that crime is a major issue, including 96% of Republicans, 68% of Democrats, and 72% of independents, while 53% of Americans approve of the methods by which Trump is combating crime. You know, John, the left, they're all up in arms about this crackdown, particularly in Washington, D.C. But the reality is America wants this. This is exactly what America voted for.
Danica, it is a mystery why Democratic politicians in big cities will not take strong measures to combat crime. They have no cash bail. You know, it's a revolving door. Criminals get arrested. They put them right back out on the street. It's really appalling. And the natural consequence of that is sky-high violent crime rates. Now, in Washington, Donald Trump was able to do what he did because Washington is a unique jurisdiction. It is a federal district. It's the only place in America that's not part of a state. It is run by the federal government. And therefore, by law, Donald Trump had the ability to come in, take over the police force, bring in FBI agents and other federal law enforcement, and bring in the D.C. National Guard, which is under his command. And so that was a unique opportunity for him to come in and fight crime. Carjackings are down by 87% since this federal takeover in D.C. And so it's very popular. It's popular with people in D.C., and I think it's popular with people across the country.
Yeah, and note to even the Washington, D.C. Mayor, Muriel Bowser, she even praised it, given that, yeah, as you said, that 87% reduction in carjackings in just the last 20 days alone. So the proof is absolutely in the pudding. Now, look, I want to talk to you about Alligator Alcatraz, the immigration facility, of course, in the Florida Everglades. Now, that will soon have no detainees in it. Officials will reportedly shut down that facility after a judge ordered them to cease operations. John, what do you make now of this development?
Well, the important thing to understand here, Danica, is that the basis of that court order was environmental. It had nothing to do with the use of the facility for deportees. It was that the judge held that certain environmental procedures hadn't been complied with. The federal government could appeal that order. I'm not sure they're going to. They might just say fine. They're opening up a number of other deportee centers around the country. I don't know that they necessarily need Alligator Alcatraz, but here's the real point that was going on, Danica. What they're trying to do is encourage self-deportation. You can't fly 10 or 15 million people out of the country. What you've got to do is impress upon them that it would be a good idea for them to leave the same way they came. And the administration has done that by publicizing things like Alligator Alcatraz. And I'm sure that's caused a lot of illegal immigrants to self-deport. And I think that's the real idea here.
Yeah, so maybe it actually has had the desired effect after all. You're spot on. Now, look, Donald Trump has held a White House meeting with former British Prime Minister Tony Blair and former Trump Middle East envoy Jared Kushner on ending the Gaza war. What do you make of Tony Blair being invited to give his views and his rationale for ending the Gaza war?
Danica, I really don't know. I mean, I assume he's being brought in because he's got a more pro-Israel orientation than Keir Starmer, the current prime minister, who is talking about recognizing Palestine, whatever that is, whatever its borders might be, whatever its government might be. I think that Trump is trying to help the Israelis, help Benjamin Netanyahu get to an appropriate resolution of this Gaza war. And what does that mean? It means a resolution that does not leave Hamas in power in Gaza and does not leave Hamas as a viable terrorist organization. I don't think Netanyahu will settle for anything less, and I don't think Trump is going to pressure him to accept anything less.
No, well, look, Trump's been very firm on this from the very beginning, and obviously those negotiations are still open. So you're right. Let's see what happens here. Now, US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has fired the head of the Pentagon's intelligence agency and 2 other senior military commanders. It comes just weeks after the White House rebuked a review assessing the impact of American strikes on Iran. John, I guess, what choice did Hegseth have here? Because the head of the intelligence agency essentially cast doubt over the administration's own strikes.
Yeah, this guy was the head of the Defense Intelligence Agency, one of a number of intelligence agencies that we have. He was a general named Jeffrey Cruz. And right after those Iranian airstrikes, he put out this ridiculous intelligence report saying that he thought they had done very little damage. Now, that's absurd. It's contradicted by every other assessment by everybody all around the world. They did terrific damage. What's going on here is that the military bureaucracy and the intelligence bureaucracy have both been taken over by woke liberals. And Pete Hegseth knows all about this. He actually wrote a book about it, how wokeism was taking over the highest levels of the Department of Defense. And that's one of the reasons why President Trump made him Secretary of Defense, because Trump wants him to clear out this woke dead wood. These are guys who never fought a war, but are there pursuing these liberal DEI policies and so on. So we're going to see more of this. There are more people at the top of the military establishment as well as at the top of some of these intelligence agencies who need to go, and I think we'll see some more firings.
Yeah, wouldn't surprise me at all. You can tell that Pete Hegseth is really getting it done and clearing out that department, and good on him, I say. Now, the New York Times has done a special investigation into Chinese meddling and influence in campaigns. It's found, quote, the Chinese government wields its influence in New York politics through diaspora organisations that are usually organised around people from the same village, city or province in China. It goes on to say Chinese diplomats at the country's New York consulate on Manhattan's West Side were in constant communication with leaders of these groups. John, how concerning is this?
It's interesting, Danica, because as you know, in our political life, there's been a lot of talk about Russian influence on our elections, and that's been way overstated. I think the much more serious question is Chinese influence, not just in local elections in New York City, but in many other ways. We know that the Chinese have heavily influenced American universities by giving them a lot of money, which is supposed to be reported by law, but often has not been reported. That's been really insidious. We know that the Red Chinese have placed spies in high places. So, for example, Senator Dianne Feinstein for years had a driver who was with her every day, turned out to be a Chinese spy. A prominent Democratic congressman had a girlfriend who had almost certainly was the Chinese spy. And so we had the Chinese spy satellite drifting across the United States during the Biden administration, and they wouldn't shoot it down. So there's a lot of reason to think that China is spying. China is exerting political influence. China is trying to influence our academic institutions to be friendly to it. And I think we need a really much broader, across-the-board understanding of these efforts and response to those efforts.
Yeah, I completely agree. As you said, I mean, normally we think about Russia, but gee, China is certainly a worry right now. John Hinderaker, it's great to catch up with you again. Thank you so much for joining us on the show this evening.